Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late, 10 minutes, 30 minutes late. I went to take a nap. And right, like, straight to sleep. Because I've been parking. So, like, all right, I'm ready. Harry's gonna come on soon. Sorry I'm late, 30 minutes. I took a nap and I went straight to sleep for like 30 minutes on. Hey, Diana, how are you? Karim, how you guys doing? So I'm talking to Harry. He's a visual artist, creative director, and photographer. He's Cameroonian and he lives in the United States of America. So he's going to join us soon. We're going to talk about culture. We're going to talk about being an artist in our day. We're going to talk about being a photographer and like what are we actually going to be shooting or the visual stories we want to tell in our generation. What stories do you want to tell? Ali, how are you? So he's gonna come on here soon, and then we're gonna talk. You guys can ask questions too, okay? Let's talk. Let's rap. Let's share ideas. Ali, how are you, bro? How is Jordan? How's the heat? Ooh, like summer kicked in here last week. It was like 38 degrees, 39 degrees. I think this week is like pretty much 32 degrees going down. It might rain this weekend, but the heat is hella strong. It's too much hot. It's too hot. Too hot. Alright, guys, we're gonna wait for Harry to come on, and then we go. Alright, Harry's here. And we're gonna start talking. How is the weather where you guys are right now? Like how many degrees is it in Jordan, Ali? I guess it's very hot. 42 degrees in Jordan. Wow. Man, you guys are like
Hey,
very
what's
hot.
going on, bro?
Yo, my man Harry was good.
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you, bro. Nice to see you again.
Likewise, man.
You're looking
Likewise,
good.
after
What?
all the food tags and whatnot.
Yeah, like I took a nap. It was like 4:10 p.m.
Yeah.
I turned on the alarm, but it didn't even shake me. And my friend was calling
Yeah.
me. She was calling me on my WhatsApp and on Instagram to remind me, but like I was gone.
Yeah.
When I woke up, I saw her missed calls, and then
No,
I
trust
was
me, I
like,
know how
oh,
that
I'm
is, bro.
sleep. Yeah.
I
So
know
how
how
you
that
doing?
is,
How
man.
you
It's
doing?
all good. Yeah, I'm
How you
doing
doing
good, man.
today?
I myself, I was a little paranoid about the waking up late.
Yeah, yeah,
Usually,
yeah.
usually when I set out the alarm, I actually end up waking up earlier than the alarm because in the back of my head, I don't want to, sleep over over the alarm or hit the snooze button and then
Yeah,
it
yeah,
keeps and then oversleep. So yeah, it's
yeah.
been fun, bro. Just working as usual, working on
Definitely.
pictures and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I know
Mhm.
like we are all facing this pandemic thing, like with the corona thing, it
Mhm.
came on and everything had to stop. Like I know our
Right.
creativity and our projects, everything, like our
Hmm.
businesses, if we
Yeah.
had clients, I mean for you probably had clients, people that you had to shoot. And I know with your painting, your
Mhm.
visual artist side of you, everything just went standby. How did you deal with this?
Honestly, bro, like I think there's always I'm the type of person who it's weird. I'm the type of person who gets creative when I struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
Whenever there's like a little challenge, something somewhere, that's when I actually my brain starts working a whole lot. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of used to be on the edge on a lot of things, you know what I mean? So with this whole, pandemic thing, first, I mean, I didn't personally have any major issue with it just because there's always something to do.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know what's going on. Things just stop.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I don't know what happened. It just tripped.
yeah. So like I was saying, I'm not sure about the last part you heard, but
Yeah,
like I was saying, usually during hard times, that's when I get a little bit more creative. That's the
yeah,
weird
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so I always know what to do and when to do it. Right now what is keeping me busy is my podcast for creatives. Guys,
Hmm.
hello guys, by the way, I see some people joining right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Hello, guys.
But
Thanks for coming in.
yeah, so yeah, the podcast that keeps me busy and everything, because I
This,
can do it in the comfort of my home, and to me that's a very subtle way to just keep people connected and
yeah.
everything, even with clients. I usually, if you stay too long without communicating a little bit with your clients and all that stuff, it's easy for them to have you in the back, way back in the back of their minds and stuff, and
Hmm.
the disconnect can get bigger from there. So that podcast allows me to
Yeah.
still stay in touch with people and all that stuff. There's a visual, or like you said earlier,
Hmm.
the digital painting and sketches and all that stuff. That keeps my mind busy and everything.
Yeah.
Um, People lost their jobs,
Yeah.
but not everybody lost their jobs and everything, and not everybody is going through that struggle. So every now and then,
Hmm.
um, I still have clients, who come in or asking or inquire about maybe
Yeah.
one of my sketches and everything, or like a photo shoot, as long as it's just
Yeah.
a shoot of like less than two people. I can't do any big brands or any big campaign or anything of that nature,
Hmm.
because of the photo shoot, but I can still do one or
Yeah.
two people at a time. Yeah. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
how that's how it has been so
Awesome.
far, man. What about you?
Yeah.
How do you cope with everything, or how do you spend, you know, that this time?
The
How do you spend
quarantine
your
period.
time now that everything kind of died down a little bit? And yeah,
Yeah. All right, the quarantine started in March, right? During
yeah,
that time,
something like that.
I was
Yeah,
still working. I was still working, and then certain places started locking down. The government said, "All
yeah,
right, certain shops, certain supermalls, they'll go off." So
right.
everyone was home. So at my
Hmm.
working place, they were like, you will start working like two or three times a week,
Hmm.
back and off, back and forth, back and forth. So I was doing that for like
Yeah,
a month, and then I like there was a time when I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. I started going through
right.
my mind, thinking about a lot of stuff. I'm like, I
Hmm.
need certain changes.
Right.
And where I'm living right now, I've been in this city for a year. So I was like, nah,
Hmm.
it's time for me to move. Like because like it was time for me to sit down and think about a lot of things. So I think the Corona
Right.
helped. The Corona came with the quarantine thing, and it helped me a
Right.
lot, to kind of discover and to sit
Yeah.
and reflect on everything that I wanted. So during
Right.
during that time, I also got creative, as you said. When you are in
Right.
isolation, you get creative. So I've done a lot more. Started a
Hmm.
lot more. Even like talking to people, like just what I'm doing
Right.
right now on this little talk show, which I have now. It started during that
Mhm.
time. I was like, why not
Right.
just start
Right.
doing something rather than sitting home? Maybe you want to watch, you want to write something, or you want to paint. If you
Hmm.
if I don't have jobs, modeling jobs or acting jobs,
Hmm.
then I can get creative. I can start something that helps other people to see
Exactly.
other people's journey in how they
Right.
use their lives to impact everything. You
Right.
know. So we're gonna talk about you, like your visual artist
Hmm.
side. We're gonna talk about your painting and your podcast. With like, I want you to tell us about the journey. Like, what was the spark? How did you start? Did you start as a visual artist, creative director? Because I know you have to do a lot too in fashion and photography.
Right.
So, I mean, how did you start? When was it? When was the spark?
Okay, so for me, I started. I mean, everything started with photography. Well, actually, before everything, anyway.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a huge dance fan. I was when I was like in middle school. You know,
Yeah.
way back then when people like Cisco and Aaliyah
Yeah,
were a
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The year
Yeah, so
2000.
I was always, I was really deep into dancing in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And that was way back when I was in Cameroon around like 2007-ish. No,
Uh-huh.
what, I say 2007? What? Around like 2002, around
Uh-huh.
there, 2001,
Yeah.
2002, I was having like in a dance world, you know what I mean? And when I
Yeah.
came to America in 2006, you
Awesome.
know, for a while, I was just heavy into it. That's all my mind was it. I'm really deep into music.
Yeah.
everything that I do till this day is inspired by music. I think we talked about that in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and the transition was when I actually got exposed to the dance world here, right? The
Yeah.
place where I live in, like you don't just walk around your neighborhood and find somebody dancing and knowing off the top that somebody dances, right?
Uh-huh.
You can run into a photographer, you see the camera and everything, and you will know the person is a photographer, but you will
Yeah.
never know how, like you can tell who's a dancer just by looking at them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I got exposed to the dance world through like YouTube and everything, I kind of discovered what was going on under the radar here, and I started being part of it, right? I was attending
Yeah.
classes, I was attending street sessions and all that stuff. And at some point in time, you know, I wanted to make it something, I wanted to make a profession out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I linked up with some photographers. I always saw my peers, like they had like nice, clean profile shots, for to teach their classes and do flyers and all that stuff. And I wanted that, right? And every
Mm-hmm.
single time I would hit up, a photographer and everything to take my picture so I can start promoting myself and start branding myself, it was like either they were always like flaking a little bit or I wasn't really taken seriously. To be fair, I was actually one of the youngest in that whole crowd. You know what I mean? There was not a lot of people, at age at age 17 or 18, 19 being high up there. You know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And, I even went as far as proposing like to take photos, I mean
Mm-hmm.
to pay for the photos. But
Yeah.
I always got turned out for some reason. I don't understand why. So rejection is actually what sparked everything, right?
Uh-huh.
There was always my dad used to be in photography every now and then because like, he was into the music industry and all that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
he was required to take photos and portraits and everything. So I always had that in the back of my head, but I never really looked at it as, you know what, man, I want to get into photography. So at that point where like, I feel like, I was being rejected every now and then. The dance is still part of me, right? But again, like I said earlier, when I struggle, that's when I get creative the most when I struggle. So
Yeah.
whenever I found that like, it's really hard out here to find a good photographer to like take my pictures and everything. I'm willing to pay whatever the person is paying is wants me to pay, and I'm still not getting results. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to get a camera or whatever, and I'll do it myself, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the first camera that I bought, the very first camera that I bought, it was not even a professional camera. I remember it was like a Lumix, like it was a GE,
Mm-hmm.
General Electric. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that brand. Yeah, they had cameras and everything. I started taking pictures with them or whatever. That was back when MySpace and High Five were a thing. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Before
way back then.
Facebook.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
Facebook was not really too big like that,
Yeah. It
right?
wasn't. It wasn't too big.
Yeah, exactly. So I started taking photos and everything, and then slowly, started doing more researches on cameras and everything, what to buy, the lenses and all that good stuff, right? And then it got to a point where some people started asking me how much do I charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even plan on like on making it a business or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people
Yeah.
kept asking, yeah. And then at some point I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, man? If people are going to ask me how much I charge, then I guess I'll just go ahead and charge them, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I started doing that, and then since then it's just been, you know, it's just been, hey, 11 years later, this is where I'm at right now,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Well,
So with the digital art as well, that's just me transitioning most of my photos into paintings and sketches because I
mhm.
always wish I could draw. I had the potential to learn how to draw, but now at my age and with the time and the schedule that I have, I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
really put that kind of time and energy to learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks to like all these softwares, Illustrator, Photoshop, and all these things, I can take my images, right, and easily make something out of it or sketch something out of it or
Mm-hmm.
you know mix magic out of whatever picture that I take or anything. I just convert them into paintings and everything so it
Yeah.
can work in my favor. So yeah, that's how I got into the whole thing. What
Oh,
sparked it was rejection,
yeah.
and what sparked it was just being outside of my comfort zone, because
Mm-hmm.
whether we believe it or not, excuse me, whether we believe it or not, we don't do the things we want to do because we are actually very comfortable where we are at. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have been able to move or do whatever that you felt needs to be done if this quarantine didn't happen.
Yeah,
You would have
you're right.
started where
You're
you
right.
want to be. It would have happened eventually. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't have had that felt that much pressure to do what you want to do.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's what happened with me, pretty much.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's every like like there's every trigger effect. There's everything that comes. There's something that always come and then trigger a certain
Yep.
movement, you know. And I
Exactly.
think it's or it could also be some kind of change, a huge change that is coming, but something always triggers it,
Exactly.
and you have to recognize the trigger. So when you're
You
talking,
do. Yeah.
when you were talking about the fact that you were paying, for
Hmm.
photography, and people were saying no, it reminds me of
Yeah.
when I started, when I wanted to start modeling, right? It was like,
Yeah.
by that time, I didn't have no jobs. I knew like to get any job, I would need to go to a modeling agency. All right, I was like,
Hmm.
nah. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pay photographers to shoot me. So
Yeah.
I was buying clothes,
Hmm.
and then calling up photographers. I'm like, yo, let's do this. I
Yeah.
have an idea. It's like, what's up? I'm like, let's go shoot here. Let's go shoot here. So
Hmm.
you have my photo, and you still have money from me. So this is how I built my own portfolio up
Yeah.
before I started
Hmm.
even getting jobs, and then building my portfolio again with all with other brands. So
Right. Right.
I didn't just sit and then and I was like, nah,
Hmm.
if I'm gonna do modeling, I have to be in agencies first. No, I started first solo. I just went in
Hmm.
solo. So I mean,
You
with
have to. Yeah.
you, yeah. So with you, studying photography, it was more. I mean, what was it like for you? Like you were planning on shooting like basically everything, or it's like specific, like you just wanted to get into fashion, or you were like, no, I'm gonna shoot culture because I know you shoot culture too. When I look at your
Hmm.
page, there's culture inside, which is very, very important and necessary, and I love it.
Right. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Initially, man, like I said before, I just wanted to take photos. At first, again, mind you, even when I got the camera, I was really into dancing, right? So I wanted to do it just for my portfolio and everything, buy a tripod, set the timer, and then take the picture of myself, and then
Yeah,
edit it to my best ability, and then post it up there, or make myself work on my brand a little bit. And then slowly, after playing around with my camera, like taking
yeah,
pictures of friends, family, and everything, that's where I started narrowing, you know my direction a little bit. I was using it for like video, like dance videos at some point and everything, and I was like, okay, that's as far as it will go as far as dancing. But because I started looking more into portraits and all that stuff, and emotions and all that good stuff, and then again, since I also like fashion and everything, I had some friends who were really, while I was dancing, I had some friends who were really fashionable, where they were like in the fashion world and all that stuff, and I
yeah.
always liked it. Even I just like the aesthetics and everything. I was like, you know what, this is something that I want to see how far this goes. And again, as an African, right?
Yeah.
Way back then, right? People were not. We were trying to integrate ourselves here in
Yeah,
America,
yeah.
right? We would dress like people here. It's not like now where we can wear our traditional wear and everything, and everybody else are doing the same thing. Back
Hmm.
then, people were trying to integrate here. We were wearing the baggy jeans,
Hmm.
we were wearing
Yeah.
the long shirts and all that good stuff, right? And people were not. I didn't see a lot of fashion photography like when it comes. I didn't see a lot of fashion photographers in the African, in the African community. At least
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
Since I knew a diverse group of people, who had different takes on fashion and you know their personal brand and all that stuff. I was like, you know what, I want to capitalize on it, and I want to see. Everybody likes fashion to a certain degree, right? Even if you're not a fashionable person, you would always appreciate somebody who puts himself together well. So I was
Hmm.
like, what if that could be the thing, right? What if I could spark emotion from fashion, right? Instead of
Yeah.
just doing like the typical portrait, just headshot and
Yeah,
that's it.
portrait.
You don't
Yeah.
know yeah. How about I play with colors and everything that could make people appreciate, the photos a little bit better. Sure
Hmm.
enough, that's what happened. And over time, I learned about branding and all that stuff. I myself started like polishing up a little bit. I always kept dancing in the back burner. I was like, okay, you know what, man, this is something that I really love. And I'll make it a personal thing. I don't want to commercialize it. I don't want to make some money out of it anymore, like the
Mhm.
way I thought I wanted to do. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll still do the whole dancing thing during my private times behind closed doors. But right now, I work on the fashion part because I've always liked it. My dad used to dress up like crazy. You know, he
Yeah.
used to dressing up and everything. This man would wear a full suit just to go to an airport to
Wow.
pick
Wow.
somebody up, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
always saw that, and it got to a point where I was like, you know what, man, I want to start doing that because he always
Hmm.
had compliments and everything. Everybody just looked at him differently
Hmm.
just because he's wearing just because he's dressed up. Like how
Yeah.
why is that? You know, and sure enough, man, when I started finding my style a little bit, I was like, you know what, I think this should be my niche. I like the fashion part. Yeah, it was getting the attention that I wanted, but it got so deep that like it became plain after a while, right?
Hmm.
Because now I crossed another threshold where the baggy jeans from back then or whatever was starting to die down. Like
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah.
smooth transition and everything. People were wearing like more vintage clothes. Now they're wearing it more today than before. Right?
Yeah.
People were going back to like the old way of like fitting. You have your pants tapered and all that stuff, right? So
Hmm.
now it kind of plateaued, right? Kind of plateaued. I was not one of the few people doing it in at least not in the community anymore. So again, I didn't want to go back to ah, you're another photographer. So I had to look for something else to evoke emotion, right?
Hmm.
Because that's what art is about. Like if you can't spark emotion out of people, you are not
Yeah.
doing
Yeah. Yeah.
anything,
You can't. Yeah. You
right?
can't do anything else.
Exactly. So that's it. That's how I transitioned over to like
Hmm.
taking pictures that portray culture and all that stuff, and I try to
Yeah.
blend both actually. That's why I was like, okay, you know what, man, I can wear a suit or whatever, but have a hint of something that about like where I come from.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That's why every single time, even when I used to take like pictures of like just straight up suits and all that stuff, at least in my caption, I would say or hashtag something that has to do with Cameroon or something of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that people will always have that in the back of their minds that, you know what, yeah, he's dressing up like this or like that or whatever the case may be, but his
Hmm.
content is primarily Africans,
African. Yeah.
right? Or just black
Yeah.
people in general.
Yeah.
That's his niche, that's his group of people, but there's also the fashion part of it. And the way that I moved about the fashion thing, where I saw friends and then I started dressing up myself and then I
Hmm.
took pictures and all that stuff. That's the same way it transitioned to culture, where I was like, okay, you know what? Let me add a little bit of let me play a little bit with African aesthetics and everything, and then got deeper and deeper and deeper. And before you know it, I was like, you know what, man, I'll start going to Cameroon every other year or whatever, and then just
Yeah.
take pictures of like things over there that show Cameroon, just the
That was
African.
last year, right? That was last year. You traveled back to Cameroon last year.
Yeah, last year,
And
yeah,
I also know
last
you
year,
were yeah, I also know you were in Europe last year for the fashion shows in Milan. So tell us a little bit
exactly.
about that transition because I know you went through a lot last year. So just tell us
Yeah.
about last year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know that this is funny. So last year I went back home in January, right? I
Yeah.
went back home because my dad was sick for like 2 years and everything.
Yeah.
So, I had to go back home to take care of him and all that stuff. My mom was the only one taking care of him.
Yeah.
So I went back home, to support him and everything. And he passed like 4 months later, right? So in
Uh,
April, he passed away.
Sorry
Right.
about that, man.
Thanks, bro. It's all good. It's part of life. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so when he
Yeah.
passed, right? Actually, a little bit before he passed, I was at a point where like, okay, I left my apartment here in America, went back home, and I was like, okay, you know what? I had a little bit of savings and everything. I was lucky enough to find some gigs in Cameroon that like not everybody is able to get while being in Cameroon. So I was
Yeah.
blessed enough to have those opportunities. But what happened was, even after my dad passed, right? Like obviously we had to pay for the funeral and all that stuff, the whole event and all
Yeah.
that crazy stuff,
Yeah.
right? So obviously that took money out, and I was like, okay, you know what, man, I can't go back home. I can't travel like empty-handed. You know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't mind because at the end of the day, I came for a specific reason. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's the price that had to be done. But I was like, yeah, I don't want to start over. So I just used my phone. It just an idea just came out of the blue. I was struggling. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't even know how I was gonna go back home. To be honest, I didn't even know how I was gonna get back to America because I bought a round trip ticket that was supposed. So I was supposed to stay for 2 weeks. I
Yeah.
saw how my dad's condition was, and I stayed for like 6 months. Right. So my ticket had already expired.
Yeah.
Right. My ticket had already expired. I would have had to pay fees and everything. I was like, okay, how am I gonna go home or whatever? So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to promote a summer tour. I started off with a summer tour where like I was thinking about hitting different states and everything, right? And I was like, no, summer tour is not enough. To go back to America is longer and it's more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Europe is nearby. Okay, I can have a one-way ticket for like $200
Yeah, yeah, sure,
to
sure.
Europe and everything, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you know what, man? I'm gonna make it. I'll call it like a world tour, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm just gonna promote the hell out of it for like a month or two so that people can book me in advance and
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I'll have the money to get the ticket and actually go.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
yeah, so a lot of people looked at it at me. I'm telling you, bro, like some people were like some people hit me up like thinking that like I have money or I'm a rich guy or this or that.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
doing fine. I'm doing okay, but during that specific time, I had to get creative, bro. I had to find a way to make something happen. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna create a flyer. I'm gonna tell all the cities where I'm going to be in because I know how people will perceive it. I know that like back home, like I mean here in America, people seeing that post, you know, that flyer showing that I'm in Cameroon right now and I'll go to Europe before coming back here,
Mm-hmm.
creates that sense of urgency that like, oh, you know what, man, when he comes here, I need to make sure I book him because I don't want to lose that opportunity to shoot with him, right?
Yeah.
So immediately the way I was perceived was completely different because of just that simple move.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of people hit me up, man. They were very supportive during that time. At the time, I didn't even charge much. I was like, okay, you know what, $100, €100 per hour. That's as far as I'll go, right?
Mm-hmm.
100 euros per hour and everything, and I'll be there and I'll take your photos for like a whole hour and everything.
Wow.
They booked while I was still in Cameroon for a month or two straight. I had the money to make it to Europe, and since all the
Yeah.
countries in Europe are really close by, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, since all the countries in Europe are close by, like some of them are like 2 hours, 3 hours drive away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, you know what, that makes it easy for me. So I'm just gonna cap on that, right?
Yeah.
So I started taking the train. I landed in Paris, started shooting there like a lot there to show that I'm actually working.
Mm-hmm.
Posted the photos after a day, sometimes on the same day. I'll just post it so I can make sure I get more out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, before I know it, I took I took a car with a friend, went to Belgium, drove all the way over there, attended a few events, networked with some people, some other people, got a couple of clients, and then got out. I didn't have time to like really enjoy the way I wanted to enjoy my life over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
I had a good time doing it. But I was like, okay, I can't afford to spend money the way that I would like to spend it because, you know, these are, you know, these are trying times. Oh, I have Temere who's saying inspiring. Thanks, bro. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But but yeah, that's how I did it, man. I did it that way until I had enough money to get a one-way ticket back here to America. It was like $400. So if you look at it, right, from the day on January that I left America to go see my dad, I paid $800 for a round trip ticket, right?
Yeah.
And then I spent $400 from Cameroon to Europe, right?
Yeah.
Let's not count the amount of money that I spent to move
Yeah,
around
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything
yeah.
like
On the
that.
way.
And then another like $400 to come back here. So with roughly like $1,200, I left from here, went to Cameroon, went to Europe, and came back here. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I didn't have that money while living. I didn't have that kind of money anyway. And when I came here, obviously this was the last stop. I ended it up with like two weddings or something like that. It was like two big weddings and everything that had me back on track. you
Yeah.
know. So that's how that whole entire thing happened. The actually the the Milan Fashion Week that you were talking about,
Yeah.
It's funny because I had this one of the some other not photographer, some menswear blogger who hit me up. Like we follow each other actually. He wanted to shoot with me and everything. He's like, hey, you need to check this place out in Milan or whatever. And then he showed me this other place. Oh, what's the name of that? It's still in Italy. Anyway, so he was like, yeah, you know what? I would like to definitely work with you and everything. How much you charge? I gave him the price and everything. He was like, okay, definitely show up. And I showed up. I showed up. I mean, on the day of, or a few days before. One, I never got that deposit, and I had already spent the money to on the flight to go to
Yeah.
Milan.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this guy is not hitting me up anymore, and that this is pretty much money I'm losing. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? If I'm going to lose that money, at least I'm gonna cap on the content, right?
Yeah.
And I made it to Milan Fashion Week. Didn't know anybody. I was not with like I went there on my own, and it was just me and my camera, and I just started shooting. Met a few cool people who knew how to move around and how things work. Yeah, it was my first time being there, and yeah, we did some shots and everything, and then I actually ran into that guy.
Yeah.
I actually ran
Wow.
into the guy who didn't update me on
Yeah. Yeah.
work and
What do you
whatever, and I
think?
was like, okay, you know what, man, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what
We
it
did a
is.
few shoots and everything, and just because people saw that, they kind of they kind of you know saw my content a little bit more valuable
Mm-hmm.
just because they saw these different things that I was
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah.
people think that like you need to have all this crazy amount of money or time to do it. No, trust me, if when a barbarian comes knocking at the door, you will find a way to come to make it
Yeah,
happen.
sure,
You
sure.
know what I
I
mean?
mean, it was. I mean, like your story is inspiring, man. Like it was a hard
Yes,
time.
sir.
You went through. You went through. You know, a challenge, something that you never knew you were going to face so early. Of course, you
Yeah,
knew something was going to happen like that, but you didn't know like that was when it was going to happen. So you
yeah,
didn't prepare. You didn't prepare for that. But you were able
yeah,
to go through that, and then you were able to think again about something of like another way of getting out of it, but
yeah,
not just getting out of it, of making all that of working in some other country, because it got into, I mean, it took you to all some other country. You didn't plan to go to Europe. It
yeah.
wasn't a major plan, but you
It
got
wasn't.
there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
You got there.
That's Yeah, that's crazy. I
Yeah,
even to this day, I don't can't believe that I actually did all of that and made it back here in one piece. I really don't know
yeah,
how that happened. It's just surreal to me. I had no way to go back at all.
yeah,
So sometimes you have to jump and make your plane on the way down.
yeah.
Build your plane on the way down because this whole thing where people always think that you have to wait for the right time and everything. No, 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 no. You have to
Man,
sacrifice
there's
something.
no
You
right
have to
time.
sacrifice it.
There's no right
Yeah,
time. There's just one moment that is flowing every day. Tomorrow is going to be
exactly.
today, but it's just what you wake up in the morning and decide to do. If you have
Yep,
your job that you are going to every day, that's what you're going to be doing every day. If you have
exactly.
someone you're seeing every day, you're going to see them every day. You decide what you want to
Yep.
change in a single day, and then it changes. It's not going to wait for you and be like, nah,
It
today I should
won't. It
offer
won't.
you some offerings. I should give you certain things, for you to feel good and be happy. The day already
Right.
has a lot of influence. It already has a lot of riches. It just presents it to us, and we have to get it, even though we have to struggle for everything and get everything.
Yeah.
But it's also part of our life journey. We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
We are born. I mean, we were freeborns, even our parents were, but they also grew up in the same system that we grew up in.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
they were able to build, foundations for themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
construct certain things that will hold them for life and their children. So we were part of that
Yeah.
foundation and part of that building that they built. So
Yeah.
it's also up to us to, like, take from what they did and then just move
Mm-hmm.
on. But
Yeah. That's true.
we still gonna struggle even when we have our own families. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even the things that we are gonna build for them, when
Yeah.
there will also come a time when they will grow, and that, your children, my children, or the followers that are
Yeah.
watching us, your children are going to grow. They will also struggle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everyone struggles. Everyone goes through this. But I mean,
Yeah.
for you, it's
Everybody.
crazy because I'm thinking about like the things that you do. You're able to be like, as a visual artist, as a
Mm,
creative director and a photographer, you take all of these things, and then
yeah,
sometimes you take your photos that you have, you still make them to be digital prints. So it's
yeah,
like you are able to take everything and then you break it down, to another
yeah,
category that is still
yeah.
inspiring, that
Thanks,
is still
bro.
part of
Because
the arts. Yeah.
there's
It's
man,
not,
I had again. These all stem from struggles, bro. Because I would have loved to have to. I would have loved to sell my prints. I would have loved to just take photos and take photos and just sell them as they are, right? But not everybody is into that. Not everybody is into purchasing a picture and hanging it on
yeah,
their
yeah.
wall, especially if it's a picture of someone, right? There's some people will look at it as, well, it's a picture of somebody. I don't know this person. You know what I mean? So unless it's really artsy, the person is not gonna pay for it. So I was like, okay, you know what? People buy paintings, people buy sketches and all that stuff because it doesn't make it look like, it's a real person. So I was like, okay, you know what? This is what people are into right now or whatever. I'm gonna have to find a way to just be me and everything, and then just convert the photos to a sketch or painting. That way, at least aesthetically speaking, it's going to allow people to appreciate it a little bit more, and then
Yeah.
go ahead and make that purchase, and
Hmm.
then it's always going to be Afrocentric. That's what the whole brand is about. This whole modern the modern safari or whatever, that's pretty much what it is about. It's
Hmm.
kind of like modern African art. You know, the safari part of it is what Africa is known for. It's known for safari and the animals and the exotic animals and all that stuff. So I want to keep that essence in there, right? And that's something that I started doing at the end of last year. So I'm still working on the brand right now,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then I have a a whole lot of content that I haven't posted yet and everything because I need to. There's some things I need to tweak, and I have to. There's some decisions that I have to make and everything before really putting everything out there. Right
Hmm.
now, I'm just doing everything on request. So yeah, these are all things that stem from struggle. You know,
Yeah.
people. We've all
Yeah.
hit that moment where we sit down and say, "Oh man, this is not going so good. What am I going to do?" and all that stuff. Sometimes we have the answers. It's just that we are not sure if we want to take that route. There's always a
Yeah.
solution somewhere. In the back of our mind, we know that we could do this one little thing. But the question is, are we willing to actually do it?
Yeah,
Whenever
that's
we are
right.
going through that struggle, and I think we have to be somewhere fearless. To a certain degree, we need to be fearless because there's no situation that we've not gotten out of,
Hmm.
right? Every
Yeah.
weird situation that you've been in, whether it's monetary or just or it has to do with like maybe like social events or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
You've always gone out of it, right? That's why you're here. So what do
Yeah.
you lose by saying, okay, you know what, forget it, I'm just gonna do this to resolve this issue, and then if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out,
Yeah, it doesn't
right?
work. Yeah.
So yeah. So at some point you have to have that mindset, man, and I think that fear is what drives us the most because we grew up in that kind of system, like you said earlier. Our parents grew up in this system and everything, and they taught us the best way they knew, and we grew up with that mindset, and then we get to a point where we are like, I don't know, maybe I should go back to school because things are not going great right now, but you're spending more money in school, you're spending more time in school when you could be putting all that energy and whatever to do what you have to do. Not to say that school is not a good thing,
Yeah.
but you catch my drift. So yeah, it's something that we all have to get over. I think that is changing now though. I think artists today are a little bit freer or whatever, because most people, especially back home, they already know they don't they don't look at the creative world as a real source of income. They don't look at it as a
Hmm.
profession and everything. So it's always
Yeah.
something in the back of our mind when things don't work out. We're like, hey, you know what, man? Maybe I should go back to working a regular job and everything. Just live my life that way, and support my family that way. So that's
Awesome, awesome. I mean,
yeah,
I think like technology has taken a lot of things that we usually appreciate when we didn't have like phones because like okay, you're like
yeah,
you can sell your prints a lot because you don't know who's gonna buy. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is like, I, 20 years ago, we used to have photos in our rooms. So we have photos of rappers,
Mm-hmm.
in our rooms. You put them there. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. You
posters
can
and
have a
everything. Yeah.
photo from a magazine. You put it on the wall,
Yeah.
on the wall in your room. I know.
Yeah.
I had friends. I had friends, girls. You walk in their room. They have a lot of. Their wall
Yeah.
is
A lot of
covered with
posters and
photos.
everything. Yeah,
Of
that's true.
artists, of yeah, a lot of things. But right now, it's like we have technology has brought everyone into one space. So, I mean, no, thinking of having anything in your room is like, all right, I can just open my phone up and I'm gonna see it. But
Right.
I still appreciate having something in my room, a photo. I don't mind having a photo in my
Yeah.
room. It is, I
Yeah.
mean, it helps. It is like that was a time that I grew up in. So
Mm-hmm.
it is better to appreciate anything that was
Yeah,
old,
bro.
because even now we are able to appreciate, like, like vintage clothes. We are able to wear it now. I love vintage clothes. Most of the time, this is how I
See.
dress. But it takes,
See.
yeah, it takes how. I mean, it matters how you take them and you style them. It's not like you just pick up a
Exactly.
bunch of clothes and then you wear it, because someone will be like, "Yo, why are you dressing like in the '80s?" But the way I'm
Thank
dressing
you.
like the '80s, they'll be like, "Yo, that's dope. That's dope on you. I want that. I like that."
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it
No,
is.
bro.
Just,
And it's funny you bringing this up because that's something I was gonna bring up to my on my podcast. The funny thing is that I think I said it in one of my posts. I said you know no matter how progressive we try to think, you know, you
yeah.
always revert back to the natural way of doing things, right? And you can see it all the way across the board. You can see it in your personal, you can see that in your personal life, in your fashion, dating, whatever the case may be, right? Like the whole fashion thing is just like you said. Right now in this day and age, everybody's applying the whole 80s style of dressing. Some people go as
Mm-hmm.
far as the 70s. Right now, right? They always go back to that because we've had the chance to wear the shiny jackets and wear the big baggy clothes, the
Mm-hmm.
big suits and everything. Now everything is reverted back. Sorry, everything is reverted back to the old stuff, like the double-breasted suit and everything. Those are things from the 80s that came back. You know what I mean? People are wearing vintage shoes now. If you go to H&M, all these places, Zara, all these stores with shoes with like heels this thick, these are all from the 80s.
Yeah,
You
they
know what I
all
mean?
have
People
it.
will
They
always
all have it.
appreciate that whole vibe because there was more, I don't know, there was a better energy behind that creation. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's kind of like, let me give you a good example. It's kind of like reading books, right? When you read a textbook, the
Yeah.
feel is very different from reading that same book on the phone or on the tablet or on the computer. That there's something that, when you read it on the computer, you have a different feel from it. You're
Yeah.
completely cut off from whatever you think the writer was going through when
Yeah.
the person wrote that book. Now, when you hold a book and actually read it, you can smell it, you can touch it, you can see it, you can it 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 it, it caters to all your senses pretty much. You visualize how things are, you
Yeah.
know, whether you visualize the story of what the person is saying, and it's just a different feel. So it's the same thing with photography, the posters you were talking about and everything. At the end of the day, people always want the real thing. The digital world is a little bit makes things different. It makes things sometimes difficult and easy at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a little bit of that personal touch to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can always look at my pictures and you like, or you see somebody else's photos you like, you comment and everything. But when you see that same picture in an exhibition, it's not the same feel,
Yeah, it's not. It's
And a lot
not.
of people are aware of that, and that's why a lot of people like exhibitions because they get to see it face to face. You see the texture and everything. Some of the exhibitions that allows you to touch the I'm sorry, to touch the art pieces. People will go as far as just running their hands on it just because it's real. It's real. Again, I can go on and on with these examples, right? Us talking right now makes things easy. You're all the way over there, I'm here and everything. But I
Yeah.
guarantee you, if we had this conversation in person, it would have been much better. The experience would have been very, very different. So yeah, that's what it is. A lot of people are. I think that we need to revert back to the old way of doing things.
Yeah. We learn from
Yeah,
that. We learn
because
from that past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that instant gratification with, the likes and the comments and everything, it desensitizes you from
Mm-hmm.
connecting really with people. You know what I mean? You have to find a way. Even you, like you do model and everything, bro. You can actually, with the right connections and everything, you can actually do an exhibition where you have your pictures on display. That's
Yeah,
it.
sure, sure.
You know what I mean?
I've
It
been
will
thinking
help you
about
connect
that. I've been
with
thinking about
people.
that
Yeah,
lately. Yeah, you're right. You're
yeah.
right.
It will help you connect with people a little bit better. You know,
Yeah, you're right.
it's always surreal when somebody comes out of nowhere. Oh, we follow each other on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just have
sure.
this one thing and you go back and forth for hours and
Mm-hmm.
everything without knowing.
You're
To
right.
me, it's much more valuable than
Yeah.
a quick comment on Instagram and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah.
So what's the future like? I mean, like the coming months and like because now you're I know you have a podcast and
Yeah.
so how is it gonna be like I know it's gonna be like your experience and everything, you
Hmm.
know, that you're putting there because it is about talking to other people, but it must
Yeah.
have been about everything that you have learned and you know the first times you had your rejections and
Yeah.
every lessons came from there and then
Hmm.
how yeah and then how you had how you went through last year is a measure inspiring story and then now you're
Yeah.
transitioning everything now you want to put that into a talk show where you want to share everything that you know but you also want other people to share what they know on this so how is it going to
Right.
be like your projects including this what is it going to be like
Well, starting with the podcast, yes, I'll share my experiences and all that stuff, but I also want to have, other creatives bring, their own, topic suggestions and their own experiences, right? So I plan on having guests over and everything and,
yeah
record it with them and have an exchange because, you know, I can share everything from experience and say, okay, this is how things go on my end. This is why I see things the way I see them. But it's more important for me to discover that a lot more people are going through the same thing or they can relate to what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Or even better, if they don't relate to what I'm saying, you know, because I can have the same exact story as somebody else, but we still have different perspectives on things. And I think that exchange is what would that difference and that exchange is what will actually help people versus just saying, you have to be fearless, you have to go this. We've heard those stories for a long
yeah
time. You know what I mean? We've always heard like inspiring stories. We've always heard, you know, the crazy things people had to do to get to where they are at. We've heard all of those. We know these things, right? But it's different when we actually get to talk about these things that we always keep to ourselves, right? I'll give you an example. It's kind of like mental health, right?
hmm
This is one of the things I'll bring up in the podcast. Now, let me ask you this, right? Even as a creative, you know that there are some people,
I can
that
hear you
go
well
through
bro
things. You,
I
you
can
can
hear
hear
you
me?
well yeah I think your hand
Is
is
it
on the
better?
mic I think your hand is
It's
on your
it's
mic.
not. I took it. Yeah. Is it better?
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's better now.
Oh, okay. No, so I was saying, it's kind of like mental health, right? Uh, if you are an artist, right,
Yeah.
and you go through something that's really difficult, right, and you want to get your mind off of it, and you say, you know what, I'm going to draw, to heal a little bit, to forget about it and everything,
hmm
right? Are you really doing yourself a favor by drawing that, or are you taking your mind away from the problem instead of facing them?
No, you have to face the problem. You have to
You,
face
you see
every
what I'm
pain.
saying? So
If you
on
let
one
it,
end, yeah, you're
if you
helping
let it
yourself.
go, it's always gonna come back.
Thank you. You know what I mean? But in the grand spectrum of things, it's always looked as, oh, you know what? Art saves me. It's art is my way out. You know
hmm
what I mean? Yeah, it can help you out for right now, but people don't talk about the after effect with
Yeah,
that. It's always going to come back, and you're always going to have to run through that problem. So these are
yeah,
little things that I think we can all like discuss, and I want to have different people come in and talk about these things, right? Things like tattoo artistry. I know I'm giving it out there, like things like tattoo artistry and all that stuff. There are things that are associated with that. I have tattoos and everything, but there's more behind it that I think a lot of people know about that they don't talk about, you know.
yeah,
And yeah, so that's that, and it's just a way to just connect with different. It's just a way to connect with different creatives. And then now, what do I see after that? Honestly, bro, like I just think, man, I think that it gets to a point where you know, as of right now, um, I try to get more into a lot of other businesses and everything. This is what I'll still do full time, right? But I started getting into trading and all that stuff, like doing different types of like investing and all that good stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, I still want to have some kind of residual income coming in, you know, because
Yeah,
you can do photography for as long as you want and everything, but if you don't have everything straightened out, what happens if you get old? What happens if you get blind a little bit or something like that, or your eyes are not working as well anymore? You have to find another way out,
yeah,
So during these strong years and everything, I'm also working on other businesses and everything, just making sure that I have I have multiple streams of income as well. I see myself going back home. I don't see myself staying here in
yeah. Sure,
America
sure.
forever.
Definitely, definitely. The dream is to
Yeah,
go back home. I mean, where we come from is super rich. We can be any,
yeah,
we can be anyone and do anything we want over there. Over here
exactly.
is like I to like moving out of Cameroon is like I know like it's not just about like getting better or make it or wanting a better life. To me, it's like exploring. It's like I'm adventuring,
Yeah,
you know, because the
yeah,
same struggle that I could go through back through in Cameroon, I still face it here. So
exactly.
everywhere, yeah,
There's
everywhere
always
there's
going to be a
there's
struggle
just
somewhere.
struggle everywhere, man. So
Yeah,
even I mean, because where I am right now, there are people who are living in the country. They are also struggling. Maybe they are thinking of leaving, to go find
that's
some
true.
other good place to live in. So this is how the world is. But it's like you never
Yeah.
forget where you come from. That's just the thing. You have a root somewhere. Your blood
Hmm.
flows somewhere in the soil somewhere. That's where you gotta be at. But
Yeah.
as but you also have to try to adventure everywhere. It doesn't matter. Anywhere you go to, you will struggle everywhere.
No,
But you have to.
that's true.
But
So
it's necessary to struggle. It's necessary that we struggle. If you don't
yeah.
struggle, how we gonna know? How we gonna know what is right? How we gonna know how to make up good? How to like tell other people
Hmm.
lessons? To tell someone like, no, don't go this way, go this way, or even your own personal self. You might get in a trap or
Hmm.
in a situation where you have never been before. You will not know what to do. You will be left
Yeah.
alone. You'll be left alone right there because everyone who is there, they have experienced a lot. They have been through a lot in life. But you will be thinking like,
Hmm.
how am I going to deal with this? And by the time you're thinking, time is going on, and as time is going on, you're
Yeah.
losing.
Exactly.
No one is waiting for you.
Exactly.
No one is going to wait for you. So that's just it. It's like
Exactly.
hardship is important, and I like how you accept this, and I like how when you came at the beginning of the show of the talk, you were talking about the fact that everything that you do comes from pain. It teaches you, it
Yeah.
makes you grow, it makes you create. That is
Yeah.
important to admit, man. That's so important to admit. That's what it
Yeah.
is. That's what it is. Even for me, that's just what it is. It comes from
Yeah.
hardship and pain, but it's not like I accept it and I like I glamorize pain. Like no,
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I need it. I need it to create or to be the person I want to be. No, it's just what it is. It comes. And you were talking about
Hmm.
mental health right now. You're like, if something happens, a situation, do you let it go or do you just hang there? No, you have to
Hmm.
face it. You face
Yeah.
everything. It's by facing it that you learn that you are a challenger. Like you're a
Right.
king or
Right.
you're a queen. It's by facing all these things. If you don't
Hmm.
face them, you, you stay in that comfort place. You're just gonna
Yeah.
be like, I don't know, like a fly just flying around. Anyone's gonna hit you down.
Yeah. You're going
You
to
can
stay in that
fly,
cycle.
but you're
Yeah.
weak. You can
You're
still
going to
fly,
stay
but
in
you're
that cycle
weak.
forever. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
at some point, also, is you have to know where the actual problem is, right? You can't really look at where you fail. You just look at where you slip first, right? Like you say, okay, for example, if you're late to work every day, right? If you're work too late every day, and you say, oh, it's because of traffic and everything, eventually you will get fired, right? Traffic is not a problem.
yeah,
The time, maybe you need to wake up a little bit earlier. You need to make sure you beat traffic before getting there. But if you look at the exact issue that caused you to be late, you're always going to be stuck there, right? And you're going to
yeah,
hide in that comfort, right? You're going to say, oh, you know what? It has nothing to do with me. This was out of my reach. Let me sit comfortably here and say, you know what? This is traffic.
yeah,
At
yeah,
least I don't have any direct impact on that. When you
yeah.
actually do, and you can change it, you can control
Hmm.
it. There's
Yeah.
always a way out. So, again, sometimes we want to believe in whatever story we make up to ourselves. I fell victim to that as well, and it got to a point where, even when I said I'm going back home, I think that, like, this has a lot to do with me being able to freely move around, right? Let me
Yeah.
expound on that. So everybody who is into any kind of entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurial endeavors, right? They wish they could be financially free to do anything that they want, right? But then you have
Mhm.
rent, you have mortgage, you have bills to pay, and all that good stuff, right? So what do people mostly say? They say, okay, you know what, man, I have this little thing I want to do, but I have to keep a 9 to 5 job because that's what pays the bills and everything. I need like a steady income stream of income, and that's true. But how many people do you know actually get out of it, out of that cycle? How many people will actually say, you know what, um, I'm going to stay with this 9 to 5 until things get better? There are very few people who get out of that
Yeah.
situation. They find themselves stuck there to the end. The bigger majority do that. To me, it gets to a point where you have to say, okay, you know what? I'll have to sacrifice something. Right?
Yeah.
Cameroon is not in a good space right now, right? But I'm still willing to move out there. I've heard people say, yo, why are you trying to move to Cameroon? Here's the thing. If I build a home back home, right? I build a house and everything. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant, right? I build a house and everything. Guess what? That's my house. At the end of the day, whether I have a job or not, I have a place to be. I have a place, I have a home that will never go away. Here in America, like if you pay, you buy a house and everything, guess what? You're still gonna pay some kind of taxes to it. You're gonna pay
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
The home is never yours. It's never your house. You can people there are not a lot of people who can build a house from scratch compared to Cameroon. In Cameroon, you buy your land, you do your little house and everything, and you're set for life. The only thing you worry about is what the electric bill, the water bill. That's it. Here you pay for the house insurance, you pay for the house, you pay for the land taxes, you pay for gas, electric bill, all that stuff that comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
those bills that come with it. So for me, and again, I'm sharing this because I really want, especially our people, no matter where you are from in Africa, right, to really put this in their head. If you don't like your country, there's some people who have bad experiences in their homes, right? I get that. Find another place or whatever where you can actually afford to buy something and own it. Because once you own that stuff, once you put your sweat and tears, like even if you work your 9 to 5, right? You say, okay, for 2 years straight, I'm putting this stuff, this amount of money or whatever to build a home for myself, right? Once you have that home, nobody can tell you anything. Like you will be you will be so free from anything. You know what I mean? Like you have that freedom to do anything. It doesn't matter how much you have in your pocket and everything. At the end of the day, you know that I have a bed I can sleep on. Even if my stomach is rumbling a little bit, I have a home. I'm not going to invest in everything. And you
Hmm.
know how back home you can easily find food to anybody. Your neighbor can give you food. You can eat at a family's house. It's not like here where people don't even know their neighbors. You know what I mean? People are living their own separate lives. You can't knock at somebody's door and say, "Hey, man, do you have some food like back home?" There's none of that here.
Yeah.
Everybody is for themselves. So I think, yeah, it's definitely important that you start looking at things that way. That's gonna open the door for other opportunities. Otherwise we'll be stuck continuously stuck here,
Yeah.
paying the rent, going to work, doing this. Your passion becomes a part-time job
Of course.
instead of your whole career.
Yeah.
Because life is
Yeah.
going on. You know what I mean?
You're right. You're right. Thanks for that advice, man. Look, it was nice talking to you. I'm gonna cut you short because I have the
Yeah.
time in there that says I have 1 minute. So it was
Oh
really
yeah, yeah,
lovely
yeah,
talking to
yeah.
you, man. It was lovely
No, but
talking to you.
it was nice talking to you, man. Like, hey, dude, I'm all questions and topic suggestions on the podcast are welcome. Thanks for having me. Keep doing what you're doing. I think it's important that I think what you're doing is very important. Seriously.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think everything that we do is important. Everything doesn't matter who is doing nothing or not, because
Right.
those who aren't doing anything, they are watching those who are doing something. So it's like it goes both
Exactly.
ways. But we always have to
Yeah, yeah,
strive
yeah. Exactly.
to try to put everyone up. Like everyone
Mm-hmm.
has to be, everyone has to know that they have value. We like there's a
Yep.
meaning. There's a
Yep.
meaning in everyone's life. Even if you have much and you don't have much, there's still meaning in your life. You're still meaningful.
Exactly.
You mean something to someone. You know, we all mean something
That's real.
to everyone. So I'm just gonna
That's
thank
real.
everyone who came to
Thank you, guys.